hello everyone. I'm Sammy. I'm part of the Bloomz group, and today I'm here with Renate and Mac, who are also part of our group, to talk about our art and talk about the show, and just to let you get to know more about our process and what we do. So I'm going to hand over to Mac.
Oh, thank you very much. And I've just realised I've got an alarm, so I need to turn that off, otherwise we'll be buzzing. And we don't want that. We certainly don't want that. Ooh. Okay. Well, at the at the Bloomz event on the 18th and 19th of June, I will be doing an introduction to my work, and I'll be posing the question and answering it. What is the link, if any, between Harris' tweet snowballs?
Mac, could you describe what you're showing, just in rough terms? It's sometimes hard to see for people, I think.
Can you see them? Okay.
No, it's a little bit fuzzy for me.
Is it? All right. Okay. Well, this is a snowball.
All right. Okay.
So
okay, Harris tweet, snowballs, and
and what? It's hard to get it right when you chewed gum.
In a figure 8.
It is a figure 8, actually. And
a butterfly.
A blue butterfly.
Beautiful.
So I'm going to be explaining that and how it relates to my work, as well as doing an oracle card reading, an angel oracle card reading, using these cards. Oh, this is really odd because it's back to front, so it's difficult to do it straight using these cards. And there will be an opportunity to book private oracle cards, much more detailed oracle card readings, for a donation to a charity of your choice.
Matt, can you tell us a little bit more about your art history, your art journey? Because a lot of our people coming to the event haven't seen you before, but they've seen Renate and I. So can we have a little bit more about you?
Sure. Well, when I was in primary school, we were asked to draw something. Can't remember what it was. And I'd never drawn anything in my life before. And I was okay, actually. I was quite surprised. So from then on, I bought a sketchbook and went out and did some drawings. And then at secondary school, I did my O-levels and A-levels. And then, we call them hires, actually, in Scotland. And then I went to foundation and Cheltenham, and then I went on to do my master's at Chelsea. I was particularly interested in the environment, the space, and I looked at the space and drew attention to different aspects of it, like a wall that was wonky, or a way to move through the space. So it involved the viewer, the person who was looking at it, in some sort of physical or psychological way. No, so sorry. I'm going to, oh, bugger.
We are live, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my goodness gracious. How do I get back into Chrome? Oh, that was funny, wasn't it? Goodness gracious. I thought I'd put you on to, let me just make sure I've got you on to Behave. Where did I get to?
Walking through space and people using the space to see your work.
Yeah, to actually work. And I was very much about, if you move slightly, the piece would change. So there was a kind of exploratory element in it. So it was very much about perception and boundaries, that kind of space in between or just on the boundary, which I really loved, and I explored that in lots of different ways. And then I became bedbound, and I've got a little bit here that I've written about it, which I think explains why I use chewing gum. I use chewing gum in my work. The sacred art of chewing. Since 2009, I've used gum. Chewing gum is sacred. It represents my ability to chew, speak, and express myself in this three-dimensional world. Unable to chew, speak, write, or draw, I was described as a vegetable. Inwardly, I wrote poetry and created installations in my head. Airworks. The cycle of day and night has quickened. Energy ebbs and flows each day, waxes and wanes in its own cyclical tune. My works reflect this. They need periods of activity and rest to be the right size, and consistency to be handled, to form, to support and create. Airworks explored and processed in the lulls take form and shape, ready to be installed in the physical world. When I was bedbound and normal things to take for granted weren't available to me, like brushing my hair or brushing my teeth. And although my piece is very personal, I think it's a metaphor for value and worth and those things that we can take for granted, but when they're withdrawn, can have a really big impact. I mean, lockdown, for example, has given a taste of what it's like to be isolated and not see your friends and family. So it's a call not just for taking things, for looking at things and having gratitude for them, but also about the disenfranchised, the people ignored, and sidelined in society. So it's highlighting people's value and worth, not personally and as groups of people, which I feel very strongly about. I've got a piece here, got a photograph. It's called Gratitude. Now, can you actually see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's called
If you
Gratitude.
could describe it as well, though, because it's a little bit
I will do.
pixelated.
I will do.
As we see, especially the base with the wonderful, I guess you would call it filigree work almost.
Yeah, sorry, I can't hold it. It's back to front, and it's really difficult for my brain to sort this out. What's level? Okay. When I was bedbound, as I've mentioned, I was unable to chew or brush my hair. Both these activities began again, slowly, step by step, whilst lying in bed. This piece is a container, a vessel, wrapped in a soft, enveloping blanket, holding and cherishing gratitude. Gratitude is the first stage of appreciation. The next is being thankful because of this or that happened. And finally, we then appreciate the thing, action, or change that has occurred. I suppose it's also about living in the moment and being aware of all the assets you have, all the abilities you have, the freedom you have, and it's a call to cherish those.
So when you're producing that piece, how many hours, days, weeks, months does it take you, because you're having to do it bit by bit? How long does it take you roughly to produce that one piece? Just so people understand the amount of time and effort and everything that you put into that piece.
Yeah. I didn't actually time it. At some point I will need to time some pieces so to give you an idea. But I showed you basically a photocopy of this. So when I chew, oh, this is really difficult. Okay. When I chew my work, they normally go into a tray like this. And then I have to wait till it's the right consistency for what I'm doing to then begin to use it, and then I begin to form it. And with this piece, it actually wouldn't take too long to do. I mean, I would have to chew the gum, and obviously I used, or maybe not obvious, that I used hair from my hairbrush to actually enclose it. And each piece of gum I used, I pulled a piece of hair out of my hair and rolled it in it, so it contains all of my DNA. So it's saying that you are precious, basically. And that was in a mold. So because it had the support, it didn't take too much time. However, I'm making other structures that I need to wait until it's solid enough to actually take the structure on top. So it can take, I don't know, 2-3 weeks to do something like that, and then maybe months. And I've been working in another piece which is much larger, and I've been working in that for over 3 years.
Wow.
But that is about this size, and yeah, and it's still in development, so it just varies. And sometimes things can be quite quick, just depends on it. And I love doing experimentation with different materials and put them together. Oh yes, and it's about recycling. I nearly forgot about that. And it's about recycling. It's about using what's available. Again, seeing the value of it.
I've got lots of questions to ask you, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to save the Mac, because at the event, people can come into your studio and they'll probably have similar questions they'll want to ask you. But is there anything else you'd like to say about coming into your studio at the event and what people can expect from you? Any more little teasers like you did earlier?
Well, I'll be showing you a link of why all those things are significant to my process and what I will be developing on next. Ooh. And the influences on that. So yeah, because my work is in flux at the moment, so that's why I'm doing a presentation and the links between them all.
Brilliant, thank you. Renate, do you have any questions for Mac?
No, I'm absolutely fascinated by your work, Mac, and when I listen to you, there's such a complexity in terms of the artistry and the thought that goes into the work and what it means and the metaphors, and that's actually what fascinates me the most. But I caught you also. I'm not sure if your exhibit is still ongoing, but you had a recent exhibit, and that takes a lot of work and everything. I think it was before you moved too, still.
I did. I put a couple of pieces into an exhibition just before Christmas. That was the last one that I had, Renate.
I just woke up from Christmas, so that's
Well, I can appreciate that kind of slowness.
it seems recent.
Renate, would you like to come to the middle?
Sure, I'll give it a try here. Do you have any questions right off the bat, or I guess I can talk a little bit by myself first. I'm a largely self-taught artist. I'm in a wonderful place called Back Bay, New Brunswick. It's in Atlantic Canada. And I have not gone to art school. I went to engineering school instead. And, have degrees in totally unrelated matters, science, experimental science at least. Take some creativity and statistics. So I'm sort of embracing the idea of simplicity and stripping down complexity and arriving at some sort of abstraction. My work currently is mostly in acrylics because I love bright colors, but I have two major lines of work, basically the acrylic work, which can be representative of the scenery around here in Canada, lots of landscapes, sheds and boats. And then I do inward-looking contemplative painting, I call that, which is more directly related to healing arts. And basically, I'm healing myself by doing the artwork. And it allows me, much like, a keyword or something, doing the art allows me to focus, to do all the things that Mac was talking about in terms of coming to the present, becoming aware, smelling the colors, and just thinking. It's a lot of thinking and remembering too, which is kind of what we do at my stage in life, which is the latter part. But it's a great way, I find, to process things and to rewrite my story or see it in a new light. It's kind of like this shifting perspective, moving things here and there so you can better see and appreciate. And so my paintings represent that. Being in Canada, we have lots of long nights, dark winters. Hence, I just woke up from hibernation. And today happens to be really official start of summer almost. That the official start here doesn't come till the 24th. But I do try to get outside and I enjoy nature when I can. When it's too hot, I'm still inside. It's amazing what the temperature changes and exposure to the wild elements. Really, you need to protect yourself from it, and it makes painting sometimes quite difficult. But I do enjoy. This is what I'm trying to say: going out and do plein air painting. I've tried pastels earlier this year. Which is really kind of neat. It removes any kind of brush work. You just, do a lot of rubbing with your fingers on a canvas or with just crayon type sticks. But I do the light powdery kind of pastel work, which is also suitable for outside because it's kind of messy. And inside the studio, it gets in the air and it's not good if you breathe that in. So I've been working this winter and during the pandemic times, basically, and I'll show you one representative image. And this is oops, sorry, I'm stuck. My chair just got stuck. I hope you can see this.
That's
for some of
fabulous.
you that are
Isn't it?
in Venice or have been in Venice, you might recognize this. But this is really one of those contemplative paintings, totally from memory. I didn't actually have a reference, and I just started. Actually, in this case, I broke lots of rules because I sort of put this gondola and the little water canal smack in the middle, including the moon. And typically in art, you try to shift a little bit to not make it too boring and centered. But in this sense, it it was actually, I guess I should still hold it up maybe. Um, so, I painted away. It was a memory. I did spend time in Venice. I remembered, but I was also interested in the stars and the moon, and I really started with the moon and the whole idea of concept of star and sky and infinity, basically, and timelessness. And the other element in here, which is what I got interested in recently, is nocturnes, nighttime types painting. I had listened to a lecture on nocturne painting, and I was in a lull of production, and the lecturer artist said that nocturnes are really simple because, you don't have all that color variety because there's subdued light. And so the colors that you usually have, the reds in particular, they fade away and become all gray, and it's all about dark and light and shadows. And so that's kind of what got me motivated to start this piece. And then I pretty much finished it in 2 days. And what I do is, I can show you the back of it. It's actually on linen canvas, stretched linen canvas. And I start out by putting a ground on it. And then in this case, and in the case of nocturnes, I start with black. So that it's kind of an assault of the senses right away. And then I use chalk, white chalk, and basically draw out some figures or, some divisions on the canvas. And then I straight away go right in with color, lots of acrylic color. Because of the dark background, it kind of slowly seeps through, it mutes the color. So some areas get more than one coating. So, it takes several days. Anyway, that's an example of the work I do in the contemplative painting. This one's is called, I think it, if I could remember, the word infinity is in there. And talking about metaphor, I actually had the occasion to show this to a group of astronomers, and they actually picked this painting to talk about. And on the spur, they want to know what possessed me to paint it. And I did remember thinking as I was painting it that, the stars and Venice being the Middle Age and previous to that Renaissance city of, exploration, trade, the nations came together, and the stars, yet we look at the stars, and even though they may be slightly in a different formation from Italy, they look the same to people around the world. And then we have this sort of gondola as a journey of life into infinite darkness or infinite light, whichever way you want to look at it. In my case, it was light. I don't know if you see anything behind there, but oops, there. Yeah. There's lights. And so I went from, basically solitude through this gate into where people and life and light is. And So that's kind of the meaning behind this painting. But it's also pretty to look at, I think. So
It is.
um,
It's beautiful. There's so
is.
much in your work to look at.
Mm.
thank you, thank you.
I love it.
That is true.
And
I enjoy the contemplation of painting it and then actually viewing it. But and it's not always the same of when I create it, what I see. Sometimes the feelings are the same and people pick up on that. And as an artist, that's very rewarding for me. So I really enjoy that. But they're
Absolutely.
all very unique and very original that because of that, So
So will
I'll
you
have
will
I'm
you
sorry.
be having some new pieces to show?
Uh, I will. I have basically 6 new pieces in this collection. Um, there is another sort of fairy tale fantasy painting, and lots of more moon and stars and symbolism. So, because I was preoccupying myself with astronomy and looking at the moon as something, to do throughout the pandemic and learning more about the very star configurations and the various colors, even in stars, because they're stars and such, it's really hard to represent just as a painter. Um, it's one of those things everybody knows them, and so forever I'm looking for variations and just symbolically that it instead of painting every little star, symbolically suggesting big open wide infinite spaces.
The thing is, with most subject matters, we all think we know it until we see it through someone else's eyes. So seeing it through the vision of your painting, we see it totally different, and we're actually looking rather than just glancing. We glance with our own eyes out in the actual world, but when we're looking at
Right.
artwork, we actually look, and we're looking through the artist's eyes, which is even more special.
Right. A lot of people ask me for the story behind the painting, and I've played with that because I sometimes the story evolves as I'm painting. Sometimes I have something in mind, but I think I would like, as a goal, as an artist goal, to get to a place where I can hang a piece of artwork and people just spend time exploring it visually and picking up on hints, maybe. And so it depends on each person's own history, in a way, what they respond to, how they like it or not. It might be not a subject matter they like at all. So, and they'll move right along. But it's very rewarding to see people and even talk to people then, and once they see a piece, more about it. So yes, it's my artwork in general. I do hear from people that have collected some of my pieces that they keep seeing new things in it as time goes on, and that's also very rewarding to me.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's the beauty of artwork, isn't it? If you can still see new things in the piece, then it means the story is continually evolving and it's never
Right,
getting old.
right, and
No, exactly.
that's a great cue for you, isn't it, for presenting?
Okay, thank you.
So over to Sammy.
Okay, so lots of you already know that I am an abstract artist, and I have previously explained my process of my work, which I start with an essay. So I write an essay, and then I'll go and start painting. But what I wanted to speak about just today, just chat about, is the new collection of work that I'm going to be showing at the Bloomz. It's called My Painted Journal of 2020. So what I've done is every month of last year, I've written a few essays and then gone into my studio and created the piece of work behind that essay. And the topics I've taken is what was on the news. Now we can all look and think, oh, actually, it was so miserable last year. So much was going on. We were isolated, and we all know, we all have that story. But there were other stories in the news also going on as well. But so I've picked my first piece to show you today is from that new collection. Some of the pieces in the collection I did show at the last Bloomz, but it's the first time the whole journal has been put together. So this is one of my pieces that I'm going to be showing. And this is called Escaping the Wildfires. And it's a mixed media piece on canvas. And it's a mixture of resin, oils, ink, paints, acrylic paints. And it's the story behind the wildfires in Australia that actually didn't hit our news in the UK until January, but they'd been going on since May of 2019, but it didn't actually make our news till the January. So that was my piece behind that essay. I wanted to get a feeling of the smoke engulfing the area as it was going from area to area, and the heat and the blackness of everything we were seeing. With the resin, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but with the resin, I was able to create animal shapes. So I'm not sure if you can actually see, but we've got like over here, we've got a lizard running away. We've got a koala up here. Oh, sorry, koala up over this side, climbing up the tree. Got kangaroos trying to escape. So it was really, I was trying to put in everything that I was reading and seeing and putting it into the piece. So my work can be like that, or it can be like this. So this isn't in the new collection. This is an old piece. It was about the pyramids in the Louvre, the glass pyramids overlapping. So that was that piece. So the type of work I do is very different from piece to piece. I suppose if you put my work together, you probably could put it in sections, I suppose, but it's actually all me and not different artists. Yeah, so that's what I'll be showing is my journal of 2020 anyway. That's it.
It's wonderful work. I love the idea of using the multimedia to create all these additional dimensions, not just potentially animals in the negative space, but you had some really shiny areas, and that suggests smoke or glare or brightness and heat, sort of. I think in a way we're all doing this a little bit, exploring materials and the boundaries of them and shifting so we can explain better of what we feel, what we see. It's fascinating, but it's so true with you and your work that there's always something new. It's another dimension, and yet it is identifiable as your work. The multifaceted, work. It's I kind of struggle with this sometimes myself. I mean, with you have a more structured form for production also, I believe. You can talk a little bit about that maybe, but when I want to switch and pivot basically to something new, just when I've gotten good reviews on what I'm currently doing, it's always sort of interesting to then switch and to leave that behind for a while and making that decision.
Isn't that the beauty of art, is that you can go down any creative road you want to, and you can produce the type of work. I mean, if you produce something over and over and over again, that same old, even though people may be saying, oh, I really like that, if it's not fulfilling you as the artist, then when they look at that piece, there won't be that story, there won't be that joy, there won't be that emotion that you've put into it, because every brushstroke or everything you do to create that piece has part of you in it.
Yes.
So obviously I'm not as in the same respect as Mac, who's actually physically putting her DNA into it. Yeah. But us putting part of ourselves emotionally invested into it is similar.
That's true.
Do you think, Mac?
Yes, I do. It's different aspects of herself, but you certainly, as an artist, put your heart and soul into it. Yeah.
So I think going from changing the way you paint and changing the style you paint and work is about you as a growth as an artist. Because if you don't grow, it becomes stale and stagnant. And even though people may say, well, actually, I like what you did there, you can say, yeah, that's fabulous. Please go ahead and buy it, but have a look at this. This is what I'm doing now. This is me now.
Yes.
But it doesn't devalue what you've done in the past.
No,
because
not at all.
That is just as precious. Because this piece that I just showed you, that's a new piece. This piece is an old piece, but they're both, for me, I'm still in that.
Wonderful. Yes.
Yeah. And the connection, as I understand it from your work, is your process. So although the subject matter and the resulting creative work that you produce is reflected by the subject and where you are in time, and how you actually feel about that subject too has come up a lot in your work, hasn't it? Are there any areas that you feel very strongly about a pretty painting where your emotions were involved?
To be honest, because I'll write for one painting. I mean, I'll write reams and reams and reams, and then I will reread it and, I don't know, compact it down or change it or whatever. But I think I'm writing from my viewpoint. I suppose that's why this collection is one of the most personal, because of the year that I'm writing about, and of what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, and I think for most artists or most creative people will understand that when you hear the news, you're not just hearing it. Even if you're listening to it on the radio, you've got pictures going in your head. It's like they say the best film to see is the book you're reading, because those pictures can never be reproduced at the movies, you know. So I think that's what I hope comes across in my work. It is the passion for the subject that I've written about. I mean, I'm no great writer. I'm not saying that at all. I don't want to say anything like that. But I just feel, for me, my process, that's what makes me different to other artists, maybe. So even though my work is a mixture of, what's the word? I can't think of it now. It's a mixture. Or someone said to me, oh, you've got to write hodgepodge, but it's my hodgepodge, you know, but the process is the same. So that is the common thread through it. the writing. Each painting has been written about. Each painting has been, I don't know, debated in my own head. You know, there is a process that goes with each piece. Yeah, I think that's it. Does that make sense?
It's
I don't know.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting that all of us, we paired together, the three of us, and we are the most abstract of the Bloomz, but in different ways when you think about it, which is really interesting. Yeah.
I think we're both on both ends, which makes it really interesting. It's the when we curate and explain to others, it may seem, abstraction. And of course, the work behind you is sort of a geometrical. Well, it's still very concrete. It's not as abstract. When you see animals, it's not as abstract. But we don't have the boundaries. I think we explore the boundaries, and we explore the edges of things, and try to find ways to represent so we can communicate to others. And I think writing or doing poetry or even singing or doing yoga, whatever people do as part of their rituals to get themselves to this creative into this creative mode and mood, it's all good. It's helpful. It shows that it's not an easy undertaking. It's not just sit down and then do it. And it is an ongoing process, really. We talk about the process of creating a painting, but it's also an ongoing journey for us as artists. And we grow, and we are moody, and we feel like doing certain things at certain times. And I guess the confession and the profession of being an artist is to run after that, to go with that, to discover it for ourselves, so then we can present it to others.
I think also all the artists that people are going to see at our event, we are all very different, but the thing that is very common between all of us is our passion for art, for learning, and not just about what we're creating, but about what each other are creating. Yes. And I hope that when the audience comes and joins us at the show, they'll be able to come into our studios and meet us all and really enjoy and immerse themselves in what they're seeing. And I just get your tickets now. That's what I say.
Absolutely. And an opportunity to talk with us live.
Absolutely. Okay, girls, I think that's it for now. So
okay. Apologies for the blip.
I don't have the phone on me to have a look. We'll have to see afterwards.
Well, I did have my phone, but we were rudely interrupted. I thought I was going to be able to access the comments, and I just turned it off. Just thought, oh.
All right, ladies. We'll see you soon then.
Okay. Lovely to speak to you both. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. We'll look forward to seeing you on the 18th and 19th of June.